beautiful friends, it's Amanda here, and today we're talking about a new release. NARS has just released their latest Voyageur palettes. There are 4 different Voyageur eyeshadow palettes, 2 of which are available at Ulta, and 3 of these palettes are available at Sephora. Each one of these palettes is in the classic NARS matte soft touch black packaging. It does have a locking clasp closure. There is a mirror inside, and each palette has 6 small eyeshadow pans. I'm going to show you some close-ups of these palettes now and just give you a little information about each one. First, we have Suede. The Suede palette is available at both Ulta and Sephora. It is the Cool Tone Neutral palette from this collection. It contains 2 matte shades, these 2 down here, and 4 shimmers. This darkest shimmer shade does contain some glitter. Next we have QUARTZ. The QUARTZ palette is all shimmers of varying intensities, and this is the most colorful of the 4 palettes, believe it or not. QUARTZ is a Sephora exclusive. This is the Copper palette. This one is also available at Sephora. It has 3 matte shades on top and 3 metallic shimmer shades on the bottom row. And this is one of 2 warm tone neutral palettes in this Voyageur collection. Here's the last palette. This one's called NECTAR, and this is also a warm tone neutral palette. This is an Ulta exclusive. There are 2 matte shades here on the side, 2 satiny shimmers, and then 2 more intense metallic shimmers. I wanted to show you Copper and NECTAR side by side because they are both warm neutrals. Copper has more deep shades, and NECTAR is quite a bit lighter. I'm going to show you the swatches now. I'm doing my swatches a little bit differently because I do have 4 palettes that I want to get through here. And I also really wanted to compare those warm tone palettes, the Copper and the NECTAR palettes. So I'm going to be showing you some finger swatches on my arm. These are just done straight onto my skin with no primer. All of these shadows do have names. They're printed on a sticker on the back of the palette, so I'm gonna show you the shade names alongside my swatches. I'm also gonna put a little note in the description box, so check down there. I'm gonna go through all of these eyeshadow shades and see if any of them are re-promotes or shades from their permanent line, just so you can be aware of that so that you don't purchase any duplicates. So make sure you check down there for the full info on all the shades. So let's take a look at the swatches. First, I want to show you the Copper and NECTAR palettes. NECTAR is swatched on top and Copper is swatched below. I really wanted you to see some of these shades side by side so that you can kind of compare and contrast them. There are a lot of similar shadow shades among these palettes. Here are some swatches of the QUARTZ and Suede palettes. QUARTZ is swatched on top and Suede is swatched below. These aren't nearly as similar as Copper and NECTAR, but they are more cool toned, so I put these 2 together. Now that you've seen all these eyeshadow palettes swatched, let's jump into a quick tutorial. I did use the Suede and QUARTZ palettes today to get this eye look that I'm wearing. So I'm going to show you a really quick, easy tutorial, and then I'll wrap up all my thoughts on these palettes at the end. I'm starting off by priming my lids with my favorite eye base. It's the MAC Paint Pot in the shade Painterly. Then I'm going to set that base just lightly with some MAC Studio Water Weight Pressed Powder, so that I have a nice smooth canvas to work on. Then for my transition shade, I'm going to use this very neutral grayish brown called Deep Chic. I'm building that into my crease, just layering that up really lightly. I don't want it to go too dark, too deep. I'm also going to use this shade along my lower lash line and applying that with a very small flat brush. For my all over lid color, I'm taking this soft rose gold shade And this is really best applied with the finger just to get the most metallic shine out of it. Then hopping into the QUARTZ palette, I started to apply this deep purple shade with a small fluffy brush, but I found again it was much easier to really get color payoff with my fingertip. Did a little blending with no additional product, and then for my inner corner highlight, I'm using this really shiny icy shade, and I did end up going back over that with a brush dampened with some Fix Plus, again just trying to get the most shine. Then I curled my lashes, added some CoverGirl Exhibitionist mascara, and that's the finished look. I know this is not a groundbreaking look, this is a cool tone neutral look, but hey, I can only work with what I have, and I actually think it turned out to be really nice, and I think a lot of people would find this very wearable. Overall, I think I like the idea of these palettes more than I actually like them. I love the small little like curated shadow collection. Such a great idea, great format for NARS shadows. I just wish that they had brought some more variety. I see the appeal of these as like a quick go-to, the girl who doesn't want to own a lot of eyeshadows, or definitely as a travel palette. I just wish there was a little bit something more special and attention grabbing. I love a staple neutral palette, and I have many of them. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that. So I think for me, these are just sort of okay. If the quality was insane, then I would probably be flipping my lid for these, because I think the idea of a really beautiful, well executed small neutral palette is something that anyone can use, no matter how much makeup you have, no matter how much makeup you wear. But I just felt these were sort of middle of the road quality wise. For me, Copper and Suede were the best eyeshadow quality. These just had the most pigmentation, the smoothest application, the best and brightest shimmer shades. I also much prefer this Copper palette over the NECTAR because this does have a little bit more range of depth. You definitely are getting light, medium, and deep shades in here compared to this NECTAR palette that's just really light with a dash of medium. I don't think you're gonna get quite as dynamic looks out of this kind of palette. If you're just a really one and done, like sheer wash of eyeshadow kind of person, then this one probably would be great for you. But for me, I just want a little bit more. I want to be able to manipulate my looks, and I really need a range of depth for that. I also think that the shimmers in this Copper palette outperformed the shimmers in the NECTAR palette, so between the two warm tone palettes, Copper is the clear winner for me. Of all of the palettes, I think the Suede is my favorite. I just see this being the most used for me. I have so many warm tone eyeshadows that this does bring a little bit something different to me. At the end of the day, these are just very kind of basic neutral shades, but I'm really glad that they came out with a more cool toned palette. I think a lot of people are looking for this, and I think that this one probably is the one that I'll be most likely to pick up again and again. Suede palette, my favorite. Copper palette's my second favorite. I thought I was gonna love this QUARTZ palette because it's the most colorful one. I sort of imagined this one would be great to pair with one of the other neutral palettes just to add a little bit of a punch. But at the end of the day, the only real punch of color that you're getting from this is the red shade. The two more purpley shades just ended up looking sort of like a cool toned grayish kind of purple on my eyes, which pairs beautifully with that Suede palette that I enjoy, but it's not really giving me that like punch of color that I wanted. So for that reason, QUARTZ palette is just sort of middle of the road for me as well. All in all, don't think these are bad palettes. I just don't think they're like knocking my socks off. If you're just looking for a small little neutral palette, this is definitely going to give you that. My advice to get the best quality, the best bang for your buck, is to instead go for this NARS Skin Deep palette. I did a whole video on this. I love this palette. If you're gonna go for a neutral palette, I find this one to be a lot more useful, a lot more exciting. I think the quality overall in here, performance of the shadows is a little bit better, and just the dollar value is better. So I would say, you know, if you're gonna get one of these Voyageur palettes, I would recommend the Suede or the Copper, although you know you have a ton of warm neutrals. All in all, if you're just looking for a neutral palette or you're looking for a NARS palette, I would say Skin Deep is the way I would go. So that's it for these Voyageur palettes. I would love to hear your thoughts on these. Are you drawn to any of these? Are you gonna pick any of these up? What do you think about that Skin Deep palette? Make sure you go check out my video about that as well if you want to hear me really rave about a palette. As always, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye. What's she talking about? Whoa. Dramatic much? Yes. Palette packaging. What are you even talking about? Get on with it. Do you have a plan for this video, or are you just rambling? Trick question, rambling is always the plan. Sorry, Voyageur palettes. If you want to know sneak preview of something that's going to be in my favorites this month, it's this gloss. I keep wearing it. It feels so nice. I don't know what it is. It's just a gloss, but